Okay. All right. And then, here's one I thought was pretty clever. I noticed in my research that the final issue of Starlog magazine came out in 2009, and the first video from your YouTube channel was posted in 2010. Did the ending of Starlog magazine spur you on creatively, or provide some motivation or more motivation to make the type of art you wanted to make?
Well, actually, the Starlog gig was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that a lot because I would just come up with cartoons, send it to them, and they'd run them, and then they'd send me a check every so often. So that was actually a pretty good gig. I enjoyed that quite a bit. But yeah, once Starlog was over with, then I just devoted my energies to other things. And at the time, I was so I did that when I was at the Express News. Yeah, I did go pretty hard on the YouTube channel for a while there. I've gotten to the point now where I don't want to put much of my stuff on any of these services, because then they own you. It's like then all of your work that is being seen by other people, it's through this little portal called YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and they own you. If they decide they don't like you and shut you down, then all of a sudden your audience is gone. So I got away from creating the YouTube videos, although I still post one every now and then. But yeah, I do like creating the videos, and I have created videos for Instagram. If you go back and look at, there's several little videos I've created, and I actually just got an idea over the weekend I'm going to try to do for Instagram. But yeah, there was probably some coordination there between the ending of Starlog and more videos on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. The Nano Sapien.
Wait. Ask me about Keith Carter.
Yes. Speaking of your YouTube channel,
yes,
you produced a series of videos with Keith Carter called The Successfully Unsuccessful Show.
Yes.
Tell me a little about Keith. How did you guys meet, and what led to the creation of the show?
Okay, well, Keith and I met at News in Motion, where we were creating animations that explain the day's news. But he is a huge geek like I am in terms of science fiction, horror, fantasy type stuff. And he was creating his own comic books, and I was creating my own comic books. And he was doing his own independent videos. I was creating my own independent videos. So naturally, we sort of, gravitated towards each other. We ended up going to the San Diego Comic-Con a few times together, maybe like 3 times or something, and interviewed some celebrities, and those interviews are on the YouTube channel. I did a drawing for some of the celebrities and had them sign it, and he's a real funny, talented guy, and it's always fun to work on something with Keith. And in terms of creating the Successfully Unsuccessful show, he and I we had so many ideas, and we kept trying to pitch these ideas and send them out to people. It got to be a joke where, one of us would ask the other one, well, how'd that so-and-so go? Did they get back to you? Did they respond to your idea? And the response was, yes, it was successfully unsuccessful, And so we kept that was just our thing, and that's what we still use that phrase to this day. Although, we've had our successes. That might be, at this age, we have had some successes. So that might be a little bit of a exaggeration. But yeah, it's fun to. We really need to do a few more episodes of that, because it's a lot of fun to do that.
I cringed a little bit watching some of those. At least at the Dragon Con, I think it was 2010.
Yeah.
Keith was constantly asking people about Obama.
I know. Yeah. He is not bashful for just jumping in there with both feet and just seeing what happens.
Okay. How about this? Let's talk about. Transition into the industry, and after graduating in '83, you've already talked about Comics Buyer's Guide.
Yeah.
And '83, and how did you come into that? How long? Okay. How about how long did it take before you felt settled into your life as a professional?
Well, when I graduated from college, the first job I had was making signs for a grocery store, like for the end caps, like if they had ice cube trays on sale, I'd make a sign that said ice cube trays, 2 for $5, and then I'd draw a picture of a penguin. You know, that was it. That was with my college degree. Okay, I was creating them. But then I got a job with J.B. White department stores creating illustrations of the products that they wanted to sell in the newspaper. It used to be lots of department stores had artists that drew the items that were on sale, including clothes, shoes, kitchenware, all that stuff was drawn because photography was like too cumbersome or whatever to do. Eventually, photography replaced the illustrations of the items for sale, but at that time, they needed artists to draw stuff. So I drew for this department store for 1 year, and then I managed to get a job finally with the Augusta Chronicle, creating news graphics for them. And that was like a couple years there. I'd always liked the Charlotte Observer. Once I got a job at the Charlotte Observer, then I felt like, okay, this is pretty good. These guys are pros, you know. I mean, they were pros in Augusta, but it was the Charlotte Observer was a step up from the Augusta Chronicle, which is a smaller paper. And so I guess when I went to the Charlotte Observer, I felt like, okay, these guys are pros, and I'm going to do my best to try and be one of them, you know.
Well, that's very good. Okay. The first video you ever posted on your channel was The Invisible Master.
Oh.
I've seen it. I really like it.
Oh, cool.
I thought the twist at the end was very compelling.
Oh, well, good. Well, thank you.
Yes. It featured the Nano Sapien.
Yes.
And you've done other animations under Goofaman Productions. But I noticed in the description of the video, you're like, anyone want to turn this into a feature film? Let me know. And so how close did you ever get to making that into a feature film?
Well, Reese, you could say I was successfully unsuccessful in that endeavor. Yeah, it didn't get very close. But I tell you what, man, one of the things I do, like pop culture influences a lot of my drawings, and a lot of the drawings I create, they're posters from movies they should have made. And I wish I had a good example right here to show you. As a matter of fact, let me see. I brought this. Let me see. I don't know if I have an example. But I like those old movies from the 60s and 70s with the crummy special effects. Doggone, I don't have any good examples. But I would love to get in the same room with Steven Spielberg and have 5 minutes to pitch 8 ideas, you know? Because I got the posters, I got the artwork, I got the concepts, and I just wanted to pick one, you know? But I'm not sure that's ever going to happen.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. And by the way, Nano Sapien's a great idea. It's about, by the way, it's about this little being, but the thing is, and I have one 8-page story I haven't even published, I did it like 10 years ago, of the Nano Sapien. He's a little nano computer that was designed to go into people's bodies and help cure whatever ails them. But in the crazy world of quantum physics, of course, he has become self-aware, although his creators don't know that he is self-aware. And so he has these missions he goes on, he's not sure why, he just knows he has to complete the mission. And they know that he has completed the mission because they have their microscopes and everything. They can see the tumor or whatever is gone, but they don't know that he is actually self-aware. And that's a movie, my friend. That could be turned into a movie for sure. With all the then you have evil nanoprobes, you know, like a virus or something, COVID-19, a virus that is attacking everyone. Nano Sapien comes to the rescue. I'm telling you, Steven Spielberg would turn that into a blockbuster. George Lucas, one of those guys.
Oh yeah. Let's see, what did we not talk about? So we're talking about this.
You know, I can tell you, if you want to know a little bit about what I've been doing, like as an artist, you know, self-employed artist, since leaving the newspaper. Well, I just do whatever most of the work I do is more along the lines of stuff I really want to do. Like, I've been asked to do t-shirt designs and portraits of people. I'm doing some storyboard work for a movie production, which it's storyboard work that hopefully will generate funding for the actual completion of the movie. because we want to make the movie. But they did get enough funding to at least do storyboard images, which I'm drawing and I'm having Zoom meetings with the editor. He's telling me what he wants in these storyboard images, and then the storyboard helps communicate to potential investors the concept of the movie. And so I'm doing that kind of stuff. Also going to shows like First Friday events where I sell my T-shirt and illustration designs. Like I said, I'm later in my career, and I feel like I deserve to just work on the stuff I want to work on. You know what I mean? I've been paying my dues for damn 35 years or whatever it is.
Of course.
And so I think, you know what? If I can make it work, let's make it work. And the nice thing is, my wife is also an artist, and so we're both trying to do it. So it's fun. It's a little teamwork there between the two of us trying to make it happen. And since we have more time to work on more stuff has come on our way. Now, granted, it's not, again, like the comfort of having a regular paycheck every month, knowing how much you're going to make every single month, but it's your freedom, man, and you're working on what you want to work on. So that's very important, you know.
Freedom is important.
Yeah. Okay. And you know what? I want to show you something. I brought a couple of things just to show you stuff that I'm working on. Just so, you know, like this is something I just finished not too long ago. And not like, what will I do with this? Well, I'll probably color it and then maybe make prints that I can sell at these comic shows I go to, you know. So I've done plenty of like Frankenstein monster and Bride of Frankenstein designs and Creature from the Black Lagoon. Haven't ever done really a mummy design, but I finally decided to do one, and I think I can do a nice coloring job like in browns and tans and oranges and yellows, you know. I think that might look good.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great concept. I've been introduced to some stuff like this over the years, particularly through James Rolfe. He's the Angry Video Game Nerd.
He's what?
He's known as the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Oh.
He has a show about that where he just rants about very tedious games and stuff.
Oh, I see.
But he also has a side show called Monster Madness, where he actually does mini reviews every Halloween for 31 for the whole month, and that's how I learned a lot more about classic horror movies. And
oh, okay.
It's because of that I actually watched all the Mummy movies.
Okay, yeah.
And I memorized the order. It's The Mummy and then Hand Tune Ghost Curse.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun, and I thought it was very fun looking through through some of your previous work.
Oh, good.
You know, and that kind of stuff.
My daughter, who is 23, and her boyfriend just watched the original Frankenstein, and they were saying, "Wow, that was really good." And I told them, I said, "Yeah, it has images that, you know, to this day people are still drawing. You know, they were reproducing images of the Frankenstein monster and the castle and the Bride of Frankenstein and all that." But I told him, I said, imagine what it was like movie theaters had just barely come into existence. This is like 1938 or something like that.
Or 31. Or it was
33 maybe?
The Mummy was in 32. And
was Frankenstein in 31?
Yeah, Frankenstein.
Okay, well,
was 31.
It was in the 30s.
Uh-huh.
Movie houses were just barely, people just barely were getting it in their consciousness that you could go to a dark room and see this cool, weird story. And imagine these people who, like, they were farmers or something, whatever they did in 1930s to earn a living, and they go in and they see the Frankenstein monster. It must have blown their minds. I would love to get in a time machine and go back and watch, you know, like sit in the back and watch the audience for the first time watching the Frankenstein movie when they're all looking at each other like, oh my goodness, can you believe what we just saw, you know?
The horror.
The horror. The thing. How did they get that guy to look like that? Is that real? Is that a real person? You know, it's like, they didn't know. But yeah, it's really fascinating to think about what it must have been like when that was seen for the first time by folks who were just getting used to the idea of a movie theater, you know. Yeah, but
and then the cat people, right? Was one of the earliest ones to bank on what you don't see.
Yeah, that was with Boris Karloff, right? Was it, or Bela Lugosi?
No, you're thinking of the Black Cat.
The Black Cat.
The cat people, I think it was about a woman who turns into a cat, and she's married to this guy, and then the guy starts falling for someone else, and then she
Okay.
finds herself in the zoo staring down the cat. But it's all the kills and stuff are more about what you don't see, and,
Yes.
and the shadow and the
Yes.
bus coming up.
Yes,
Yes.
that's how they used to do it. Now they get the camera right in there as they're ripping flesh off. You know, it's like they.
And it's not
Yeah,
even
there's no
it's not even
subtlety.
practical. Like it's all just CGI.
Mhm, yeah, right.
It's good stuff.
Well, good.
I'm a particular fan of the Jaguar Man. Or no, the Leopard Man. The Leopard Man.
No, wait. What is he from?
It's very early on. There's this iconic scene where a little Mexican girl is coming home.
Oh, it's a Mexican film from like the.
Well, it's American, but it's one of the most Mexican American centric old classic horror movies that I've seen, and it's how does a man kill like a leopard and leave the traces of a leopard? And it's just really fun, and it's I thought it was quite a find to find something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have it on VHS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to get back to the questions, let's go to number 2. I hope this isn't like a downer or anything. It's not uncommon for an artist's work to get in the way of other parts of life. Is there any particular part of your life that's been challenged to maintain because of your artistic goals or anything like that?
Yeah, just paying rent. Because my artistic goals don't necessarily coincide with making lots of money. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to draw this. Well, who's going to buy that? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to draw it anyway. You know what I mean? And so then, how are you going to pay your rent? Well, that's why I had this other job, you know? So, yeah. Challenge to maintain because of your artistic goals. But no, I mean, mainly though, my artistic goals are, that is my life. And so it's not a hindrance really. It's not a hindrance. I mean, you want to try and make your artistic goals. Here's a diagram, and I may have even drawn this in our classroom. Okay, this is things you like to draw, and then art people will pay for. Okay, so you want to be right in here because this is something that you like to draw, and you can draw well. Let's say you can draw well too, but people will also pay for it. So that way, your artistic goals. Now, if you shift your artistic goals so that they're in here rather than out here, there's more of a chance you can be an artist because you may draw stuff over here all day long, and that's great, and you feel good because you like it, but no one's going to pay for that. They'll pay for this over here. So if you can adjust your goals so you can be happy doing this, creating this artwork, you can also make a living or at least earn some money. Mm-hmm. You know, so you have to identify. Take some research and some months and years of experience getting out there and putting your work out there to see what sells. Like this drawing of an apple that I love and it's got so much soul, no one likes it. But this drawing of Batman, I've sold 400 of these. But now you don't want to be a complete prostitute. You know what I mean? It's like you do want to sort of be faithful to your vision, but maybe you can do a soulful drawing of Batman. And then if people come over to look at your soulful drawing of Batman, then maybe they'll look at your soulful drawing of an apple and think, you know what, I like that too. And then
Can you show that to the camera?
I don't know if you can read it.
What you want to draw, or what you like to draw, and what people will buy.
Yeah.
Find the middle ground.
Yeah. Yes. Yep, and that's true, man. That's true.
And lastly, this is kind of a fun question for me. because in the last year I've ended up reading more on Japanese culture, and anime and manga have had such a huge influence over the last couple decades.
Definitely.
On American culture and pop art. In the years leading to today, entertainment has changed to incorporate more influences from other countries, namely Japanese manga, into its own. What was it like witnessing this transition in popular media? Would you say this has had an effect on your artistic output in any way?
Okay, here's the answer to that question. It has not had an effect on my artistic output in any way, really, but it should have. I should be more responsive to that than I have been, because when I teach these classes, cartooning or whatever, manga is a huge influence, huge, and I just know the very most minimum about it. Like, I've seen Princess Mononoke, it's really great, I love it, and I've seen a few others of the Japanese cartoon and animation, but I haven't let it influence my work so much, because I feel like there's so much untapped potential in the old culture from the 60s and 70s, which is sort of my playground. I feel like there's still a lot there that hasn't been explored, but yeah, there's a ton here that I should probably do a little more research into that stuff and let it influence my work a little bit, because it is so popular. Because, like, if you want to get here,
Yeah.
Japanese stuff, you should do a little bit of that, right? Because
Now, okay, so I don't have any more questions written down, but why don't we talk about that for a second? Because it's true that anime has influenced American pop art and entertainment in so many ways, and it's become such a huge cultural influence for the last generation or so. But let's talk. So there's what people want and what people want to pay for, and then there's stuff that specific people will definitely pay for. And I actually think that your particular art direction and the stuff you choose to draw and the stuff you choose to make is actually there. Like, I feel like that taps into a huge cult fan base that's really grounded, that has a really good foundation. I'm trying to come up with a question.
Well, I do tap into the culture from the 60s and 70s, and it's always fun when a younger person in their 20s will come up and see some of my stuff, and they'll say, "God, this is cool. How'd you even come up with this?" And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm just copying something I saw from 40 years ago, but I try to put my own spin on it. But it is fun to introduce cultural concepts from decades ago to people today. Just like you said, you did your research on the old movies and you appreciated them. I think I do a little bit of education sometimes with my designs, because I did a design for that was inspired by this movie called Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. It's a Russ Meyer film from I think it's 1966, with Tura Satana, and she's the head of this female gang that goes around kicking ass across the desert of New Mexico, I think. And I did a design based on that movie, and lots of people will like that. They'll say, "Oh, I'll take that T-shirt," and I'll say, "Do you know what inspired this design?" And they'll say, "No, what are you talking about?" And then I'll tell them about the movie and the cult following and everything, and I'll write it on the back of the business card and give it to them, and they'll say, "Oh, cool." And so I feel good. I think, "Oh, good." Now they'll go and they'll Google Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, and they'll learn a little bit about the culture.
I feel like also, like, coming up on my research and the stuff that you've done, I couldn't help but equate to other people who have become really popular banking on this sort of material. I mentioned James Rolfe, and people love him because he's just such a huge nerd, and he's always taps into what he loves and relates his own experience to the audience. But there's also Rob Zombie, who kicks ass and is well-respected rock musician, and he just completely banks on the classic horror nostalgia like that. There's also Mystery Science Theater.
Oh yeah.
I discovered Mystery Science Theater, and it was just a huge influence on me. Just the humor that they tapped into.
Yeah.
But it's also in sort of tapping into that nostalgia, but also like taking it down a peg in a way, in the way that they make fun of it, but it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's sort like a bunch of people today probably couldn't watch the Attack of the Leeches or whatever and really care about it, but them making fun of it is part of what helps the new generation get into it.
Yeah, right. I agree. And a lot of those older movies are completely goofy and ridiculous, but that's part of why I like those movies and TV shows from the 60s and 70s, because they were a bit goofy. The special effects were pretty bad. The dialogue was pretty wooden, but as a kid, I loved it. I loved it anyway. Whereas today, I feel like things are maybe a little too dark, a little too serious, a little too bloody. You know what I mean? Although, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love, like, The Godfather is one of my favorite movies. The original Alien and Aliens, those are two of my favorite movies. So I'm certainly willing to cheer on all the violence, but I feel like maybe there's sometimes a little too much or something. I don't know.
There's just a problem with Hollywood banking on something when they don't really understand it, and then coming up with a plan that doesn't work, and then just letting it go. And like the Mummy movie, and the entire like cinematic universes become a big deal because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then so many people try to like tap into that and create their own universes like that. Really none of them have reached Marvel's height. Although there are some that have worked to an extent, like the Godzilla universe movies. But the Dark Universe, the Universal horror movies, and they're trying to tap into the originals and bring them back and create a whole universe. It's like that. I feel like the thing that really killed it was that all of these people trying to replicate that universe are taking not just the universe concept, but also the superhero concept and trying to copy paste it onto everything. And that's in particular why I feel like the new Universal universe, Dark Universe, whatever, didn't work, because they don't. It's like they're afraid to really make a movie about a monster and not have him be the good guy. They turned Dracula into just a superhero. They had a monster in the Mummy, and then they just turned Tom Cruise into a mummy that didn't look like a mummy and didn't resemble anything iconic. It's very.
No, well, he was in the vampire one, right? Which one are you talking about? Oh, he did. Oh, that's right. He did like.
That was the new Mummy movie that they put out, and there was the female mummy.
Yeah, I'm getting them all mixed up, man.
And they that's another thing that Hollywood does now, is they just keep giving movies the same title.
Yeah, right.
And not differentiating them or making it easy to like tell them apart from other stuff.
One of the things I heard somewhere, which I think rings true, is that you have so many streaming services. They're all interested in generating original content, that these film productions, which used to be, at least to a degree, works of art. You know what I mean? They used to be a vision of maybe one producer or director to a degree. They're now just content. We need content. We need Star Wars content. Give me hours and hours of Star Wars content. You know what I mean? So it's like the thought or passion that might be behind a project of 30 years ago. You don't see that thought or passion now. It's just maybe more content. And the machine has to continue eating the content, and so they have to continue to produce it, whether they have a compelling reason to create that production or not. You know what I mean?
Or a good vision to build on.
Or a good vision, right. I think that's you could say that about the Star Wars trilogy from Disney. Their vision did not match the vision of the original three. It was just content that they were producing. You know, we bought this for so and so millions of dollars. We got to produce some movies, and they did.
And they pretty much made 3 movies that just completely banked on the super hyper nostalgia for the original, without really creating or doing anything interesting.
Yeah, it was that to me is like such a lost opportunity. Those 3 movies, and think how many hundreds of millions of dollars.
I don't know. I would say on the upside, it's when they make huge blunders like that, and they have to regain the audience's trust. They make something that tries to actually reach a middle ground and create something original. They ended up doing that with like the Mandalorian, and then they just bank on nostalgia again and make a Boba Fett show, but try to work through the same filter as Mandalorian. So there is a give and take, and I think it's actually fascinating to look at the way that movies and all these things used to be made, and look at the kind of risk reward kind of potential that could happen that just doesn't happen now, because everything has to be manufactured to make its money back.
Yeah. The experimentation is not there as much perhaps as in other productions, because they got to go with the formula that they know will bring back millions of dollars in return.
Well, that's all the questions. I think we can turn the camera off, but we can talk about other stuff for a little bit if you have a little time.
Sure.
If you like it. All right, that's Mike Fisher, and he's been a great interviewee. All right.